To the February meeting of the Board of Directors of the Omaha Public Power District. Before we get started, Mr. Burke, would you give us a safety briefing?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, welcome. You're in the auditorium on the atrium level of Energy Plaza. In the event that we have to exit this room, we would use the rear exits or the exits on the other side of the board here to exit out of this room, down the steps and out on the 16th Street side if we need to exit the building. If for some reason we needed to exit due to a severe weather, we would have our security folks lead us to a secure part of the building in the event we need to do that. If you use the steps, obviously, when you go down the steps, it appears that nobody needs to use the elevator at this point in time, we would ask you to use your three-point touch, one hand on the railing and 2 feet on the ground. Fire extinguishers are near the rear of Conference Room A, which is just out this door and just right around the corner. Just outside the rear auditorium doors. The first aid kit and the AED are one on top of each other. If you go into our cafeteria, or as if you're going into our cafeteria on the right-hand side, one on top of each other. In case of a fire, please don't use the elevators. And I already talked a little bit about the severe weather where we would vacate to. And if you have a medical condition, please write it down or tell your neighbor. And is anybody here certified in the use of an AED or in CPR? Very good. Thank you very much. And Rod, would you call 911 in the event that we need it? Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Kim, could we call the roll, please?
Barrett.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Here.
Gay.
Yes.
McGuire.
Here.
Mines.
Yes.
Moody.
Yes.
Trinan.
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Agenda item number 3, notice of the time and place of this meeting was publicized by notifying the area news media, by publicizing same in the Omaha World Herald and outlets, by displaying such notice on the arcade level of Energy Plaza since February 7th, 2018, and by mailing such notice to each of the district's directors on that same date. A copy of the proposed agenda for this meeting has been maintained on a current basis and is readily available for public inspection in the office of the district's corporate secretary. Additionally, a copy of the open meetings law is available for inspection in the public meeting book located in this meeting room. Agenda item number 4, the consent agenda items are as follows. Approval of the January 11, 2018 board meeting minutes and the February 15, 2018 agenda. Number 5, 2018 SD3 Access to Credit Markets Monitoring Report, Resolution number 6230. Number 6, SD13 Stakeholder Outreach and Communication Policy Revisions, Resolution number 6231. Number 7, Nebraska City 1 Furnace Lower Slope Tubing Materials Contract, Resolution number 6232. Number 8, 2018 Spring Transmission Construction Contract, Resolution number 6233. Number 9, 15 kV Outdoor Metal Clad Switchgear Contract, Resolution number 6234. Number 10, 2018 Standing Committee Assignments, Resolution number 6235. If there are no corrections, changes, or additions to these items, I need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items.
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Do any directors have any comments about these consent items? Seeing as any members of the public wish to comment on consent items 4 through 10.
David Corbin, 1002 North 49th Street, representing the Sierra Club. This is in reference to SD 13. I have no problem with the way that it's written, but I am concerned about the execution of it. And so, for example, I'll be talking later about the proposal that's coming out about solar, but I do think that there's a better way to engage stakeholders. I've been talking for months, if not years, about stakeholder input into the Green Power Fund, and I do think that that meets with the way that you've written the stakeholder engagement, and that would make sense for voluntary money, and that it would also make sense that Green Power Fund should be used as part of the jumpstart for the solar that you're going to be voting on next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other comments, Kim, call the roll, please.
Barrett.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Gay.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
Mines.
Yes.
Moody.
Yes.
Trinan.
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Motion carried. Agenda item number 11, resolution number 6229. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Omaha Public Power District that the compensation adjustment for the corporate officer of the district as set forth on Exhibit A attached hereto be and hereby is approved.
So moved.
Second.
Ann? Or was it Mick?
No, I think it's Mick.
Mick, I guess, I'm sorry.
Tim.
That's me.
Whoa, it said, this is interesting.
We're
It's three
moving
different
around.
people.
How many more guesses we get?
Who's on first?
I'll handle this. Anyway, the governance committee looks at corporate compensation, as you know, and part of the law is to establish compensation for our corporate officers. This month, Mo Dogman is, there's a recommendation of Mo Dogman at 2.5%. Mo, of course, reports directly to Tim Burke. And Tim's reviewed, and so is the governance committee, and we'd make a recommendation of that 2.5%. I jotted a few notes about what Mo has done during the year, and it's many things. But he has so many things on his plate. But one of the things, besides the budget that he manages, and he's done a great job doing the budget, especially with the storms that have occurred over the years. You know, we had the big storm, so Mo's done excellent on that. Several key transmission projects that he's continuing to work on. And then also he handles all the crews with the utilities that when we've sent them to Kansas City and to Florida, and all that is under Mo's watch. And I think that's very important. As you know, that was a busy year as we did the whatever you call it, mutual aid. So Mo's in charge of all of that as well. He's also been able to incorporate Grand Island Hastings transmission operations into our operations, and that was just approved. Anyways, with all the other things, I could go on. But one other thing, though, too, he conducted 18 roundtables in 2017, which is quite a few for anybody that busy. So anyway, you all work with Mo. The recommendation is a 2.5% increase, and I would fully support that, and that's supported by the governance committee. So.
If I can add one other thing, Mo, in addition to all of that, he's also the chief compliance officer for NERC. That's a huge responsibility. And our reliability is one of the top in the country, and I think that should be noted. And that sort of even points out with that and then we had the F1 storm, F2 storm, those tornadoes, how quickly everybody got back. That was pretty impressive, the way his crews worked. And I think it's a reflection of his leadership, his great leadership this past year and all the previous years. He's done a great job.
Yeah, could I add one more thing too? All the years I've been working with Mo, I mean, anytime, as many of you know, when you need something done and to call and to figure out what's going on, I've called him at all hours of the day and night. I'm sure
He
many
gets
of you.
called at night more than anybody
I'm
else
sure.
because of the outages.
But anyway, the responsiveness is excellent always, and that is good because then I can respond directly to those ratepayers, constituents who are calling us. I know that it's part of his job, but he does an excellent job of doing that, like many of the others. But boy, some of the hours we call him, or that I've called him, have been a little strange, but he's always picking up the phone or getting back with me, so I appreciate
and his wife
that.
Mary can tell you that too. He's not how much.
Anyway,
Yeah, I'd like to second
it's an
that.
important
And
deal, though.
I talk to Mo probably when there's an outage 3 or 4 times a year. It is a phone call within minutes. It's a follow-up email within a half hour, and I can pass an information on to a customer owner, and it just is seamless. It's amazing. Just the flow of information that they have and the speed of it, and their troubleshooters. It's great.
Just a couple comments. I don't think I bothered you in the way that some of my colleagues have bothered you.
Now you
I'm gonna start calling you more often. When I look at these, a lot of one of the most important things that we do as directors is establish strategic directives and then figure out whether or not we're moving towards achieving those strategic directives. And so with Mo and his team, he's obviously got some primary responsibility for reliability, and we're doing really well from a reliability standpoint. Customer satisfaction certainly ties into that in some ways because a more reliable system will grow customer satisfaction. The one that, and we've talked about this as a team, the one that we got to pay special attention to going forward is safety. And I think we would all acknowledge that. But on the whole, I think Mo's work has been exceptional, and I support the 2.5.
Seeing no other comments, do any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Okay, Kim, please call the roll.
Barrett,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Gay,
Yes.
McGuire,
Yes.
Mines.
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Trinan,
Yes.
Yoder,
Yes.
motion carried. Agenda item number 12, resolution number 6236. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors accepts the 2018 SD1 Strategic Foundation Monitoring Report in the form as set forth on Exhibit A attached here to and made a part hereof, and finds OPPD to be sufficiently in compliance with the policy as stated.
Motion and a second?
So move.
Second?
Yeah, I would say,
Oh, sorry.
if you wouldn't mind, I think this is one that we want to just talk to the board a little bit about as we were reviewing this again. We saw a couple number mistakes that before the board votes on this, we want to make sure that we share that with you. And so I think Scott's going to take the lead on that. I don't think it's significant in any manner, but we want to be transparent and making sure you have the right information. So-
Great, thank you. Certainly, good afternoon. In the spirit of transparency, prior to you voting on this, we wanted to make sure that we clarified and corrected a couple of numbers. The first one was on the affordable slide. During Tuesday's committee meeting, we reported that continuous improvement efforts have yielded $56 million in sustained reductions. The slide has been corrected to read, efforts to date have identified 56.8 million value capture for cost and process improvements for 2015 to 2019. Just a little bit of background on this. Continuous improvement efforts have included O&M, avoided costs, incremental revenue, and capital during this time period. So by changing it from reductions to talking about value captured, it talks to the diversity of the ways that we've been able to capture value. Also, in terms of the time spent, 34.8 million have been realized from 2015 to 2017, and we have declared and are actively working 22 million of those. So the revision reflects both the time span and the type of savings we're talking about. The second one was environmentally sensitive. During Tuesday's committee meeting, we reported that we supported and promoted demand-side management programs, AC management, ECO 24/7, including the introduction of the thermostat program utilizing Nest's Rush Hour Rewards program. Current DSM portfolio contains over 167 megawatts of the 300 megawatt target expected to be achieved by 2023. The 167 megawatt number was corrected to read 134.56. The 134.56 megawatt savings are reflective of both demand response and energy efficiency measures that yield the total demand reduction. We apologize to the board for these errors and any inconvenience. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
that, Scott. And it will be on our agenda for our senior management meeting on Monday. So we'll talk about that as well. So thank you.
All right. Any directors have any comments on this item? Seeing none. Any members of the public? Okay, seeing none. Kim? Please call the
Barrett?
roll.
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Gay,
Yes.
McGuire,
Yes.
Mines.
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Trinan,
Yes.
Yoder,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is President Burke's monthly report, State of the Utility.
Great. Dr. Corbin said I should keep my president report to 3 minutes, so I'm going to try to do that today. Thank you.
I can time him.
Yeah, thanks to all. So we're going to go from our generation side down to our community in which we all live, work, and play. On our generation side, Nebraska City 1, generation for the month of January was at a 64% capacity factor. We talked a little bit about this over the course of our board committee meeting. We had about 5 days where we had an outage on Nebraska City 1, and so that took care of a lot of that. It was a relatively soft market where we're seeing high wind capacity, low prices, except for some days and some hours in that day. But we're seeing a little bit of that soft market today, or at this time during the year. Nebraska City 2's generation was at an 82% capacity factor, and year-end 2017 was 73.4%. Obviously, we had a large outage in 2017 on Nebraska City 2 that attributed to that capacity factor. And those, certainly Nebraska City 2 has been in service, continuous service for 145 days as of the end of the month. And so the plants are actually operating very well. Renewable for the month of January contributed to 39.1% of OPPD's retail energy sales, and the wind capacity factor is 55.3%. So pretty significant contribution to, we see see our just ongoing increase in our renewable growth as part of our retail sales. And so we're certainly pleased to see that. And we've had some conversations about where are we at in our wind. We've had a couple of comments in from customers where are we at in our RFP for wind, and we're currently in that process where we're reviewing the proposals for the wind RFP, and we're pleased and satisfied with what we see to date. We'll be reporting back to the board over the next couple of months and what that will look like.
Tim, could I ask a quick question?
Sure.
At our Tuesday meeting, we talked about the difference between the 29.9 number year end versus the 33.5, the latter which include landfill, capture, and hydro. Is this wind only, or does this include?
I think this is wind only. It's just the renewable. It's just the wind. When we look at this is just wind as we have it identified in generating capacity.
Right.
Because obviously, if you do add the landfill gas and the hydropower, we bump that up X percent. So.
Okay.
So it's actually probably a little higher than this. I think at the end of the year, we were 33.5% or some number like that.
Thank you.
Very good. Next would be our transmission distribution side. And all these pictures, it probably most starts to shiver and break out in hives as we see this. But OPPD's fourth worst storm hit on, as we've talked about before, on June 16, 2017. OPPD's coverage of the June 17 storm was run in a magazine called T&D World. It was a photo gallery. It was ranked as one of the top 10 photo galleries of 2017, although that's not what we want to be known for. It was also talking about our rapid response and the manner in which we communicated to customers, and it's just a great example of kind of our commitment of service and reliability to our customer owners here in eastern Nebraska. Another passion to serve element is around the work that we do with some of our large customers. So if you've obviously driven past University Nebraska Medical Center and Nebraska Medicine over the past several years, you've seen a lot of cranes, a lot of construction projects. Well, they're in the midst of a lot of growth, but we've worked with them over the years, and we continue to work with them to find ways for them to reduce energy consumption, reduce cost, for them to use those dollars that are patient-funded and state-funded on certainly strategic reasons to continue to grow their business. And they've been open and looking for opportunities to do that. I would encourage everyone, I'm not going to give you the story, but if you go to The Wire, you can see that story on kind of the work that we're doing with the University of Nebraska Medical Center. It's really great work that we're doing. Relative to honoring our community, which is the second of our core values, we have a lot of things going on. Our African American network engaged with Skinner Magnet Center on February 9th, but then did a follow-up visit a week later. But they had working with those kids on, since February is really Black History Month, to work with those students on a play. It's called If the Bus Could Talk, and it was followed by a variety of poem reading by the students. It was impactful for our African American Network members to be part of that and engage with that. They came back in the following several days and actually did a career conversation with the kids about careers in energy, which is important for us to continue the work in the community and continue to look for good talent within our community as well. On February 14th, our women's network made and sold baked goods all around. There's still popcorn balls over. I've seen them all around the organization. And they did that to raise money for the Energy Assistance Program. And it's one of the organizations that our women's network has identified to raise money and to help those individuals that have difficulty and hard times paying their bill. And so I think those are important things that we're giving back to the community. And then our Society of Engineers will be at the Nebraska Robotics Expo on February 17th at the Strategic Air Command and Aerospace Museum. And it's a great opportunity for our men and women, certainly on our Society of Engineers, to interact with kids that have a desire on science, technology, engineering and math. Even environmental sciences, maybe, with our student back in the back here. And so it's a great opportunity for us to get back and really begin to create those relationships. And then another Honor Our Community event that's coming up is our Heat the Streets on March 3rd at Werner Park. So this is a great opportunity where, we'll have a variety of people. I know the board has participated in that in the past, and it will be on Saturday, March 3rd at Werner Park. Check-in will be at 7 o'clock in the morning, and there'll be a 5K run with a walk immediately following, and then a ceremony. And it's just a great opportunity to raise money. You can go online. I think if you go to heatthestreetsomaha.org, you can register. If you can't run, they'll still take your money. I trust you on that. And it's a great opportunity for us to give back. We typically raise over $120-some thousand in that neck of the woods that goes into energy campaigns for both MUD, Black Hills Energy, and OPPD's customers. And it's a great collaborative event around the utilities to make sure that we're really honoring the needs of the community, and we're really proud of that. And it's our 11th straight year of that. And from caring about each other, this month our employees, our African American network has really embellished the Black History Month, and they're doing a variety of different things. Yesterday they started off with the Lighting the Future. It was over the kind of the lunch hour time frame. They had their annual meeting. They changed leadership guards. So Reno Jameson is the new president of our African American network. He replaces Maurice Kimsey, who originally started our African American network. And they're going to do some great things. They have some great plans for 2018. They had a speaker, Willie Barney, who is the president and facilitator of the Empowerment Network of Omaha, and had many of our senior team members there. It was just a great opportunity for us to communicate and participate in what our employees are celebrating, not just this month, but through the course of the year as well. On February 20th, we're going to have Eric Ewing of the Great Plains Black History Museum come and talk about Negro history from yesterday to today. And it's a great opportunity to hear from somebody local on some of that knowledge and information and facts. And then Yolanda Williams, who is a past OPS board member, will be come to talk about kind of the impacts of public education. And so it's a great opportunity for all of our employees, not just our African American network, to participate. And it's really kind of an engaging opportunity for us to do that. And then for members of the board and maybe the public, Joyce Cooper was just identified and awarded the Champion of Diversity Inclusion here at OPPD yesterday. And she's doing some great work at OPPD. She's doing some great work in the community, and it was a great opportunity for us to recognize her for that. And lastly, each month, we try to identify with our focus on safety, and it's a really great opportunity for us to reflect on how important the work that we do and the manner in which we do it. We reflect on an individual who died in the line of service here at OPPD serving our customer owners. So Chris Merrill died on February 23rd, 1990 as a result of an electrocution that occurred while he was while he was working near 23rd and Gregg Road in Bellevue. I get to go by that quite often, and I don't look at it the same now that we have begun to do this. Chris was 29 years old, had been with OPPD for 2 years, and according to the division manager at the time of our electric operations group, he said Chris was an exemplary employee and a perfect example of the type of person you like to have working for you. Chris was survived by his parents, 4 brothers, and 6 sisters. And it's a great opportunity for us to reflect on how important our work is. And that concludes my president's report. Thank you.
And the folks that were at our committee meetings Tuesday or else were able to watch it live stream may have taken note that Tim had to leave the meeting early and it's for good reason. He accepted an award on behalf of the utility. Do you want to maybe share that with us, Tim?
Sure. On Tuesday, OPP was recognized by the Nebraska Diplomats organization. It's an organization made up of business people across the state, including economic development professionals across the state, recognizing OPPD as a partnership in power. Or power and partnership. I think that's it. Power and partnership. And it just really exemplifies not only the work our economic development group does, because I think my words, is that there is a whole form of people that support our economic development efforts. And it was interesting, the other award winners, I could tie something that OPPD has done to every single one of those award winners. Mike Moyland from Shamrock Development received one of the awards, and Mike was very complimentary in the work that we have provided them in getting them service on their new development. That's very important. Scott Getchman from the city of Fremont. As the board knows, we're building a transmission line. We're in the process of doing that between just south of Blair and Fremont to help improve their resiliency and their economic development efforts in the region. And then I believe it was Evonik, thank you very much. Evonik up in the Blair campus, and we are helping increase our load up there so they can do their expansions, and they're doing some great things. So OPPD was tied into all the other award winners. It was kind of nice to see that, and obviously that identifies why we got the Power Partnership Award. So it was a great opportunity for me to accept that on behalf of the men and women in the board of directors. So thanks for letting me skip out a little bit early.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Okay, at this point, the next item on our agenda is the opportunity for comment on other items of district business from the members of the public. Please approach the podium, and again, give your name and address, and please try to limit your comments to 3 minutes.
David Corbin, 1002 North 49th Street, again, chair of the Nebraska Sierra Club. First of all, congratulations on your awards. I'd like to also thank you for opposing LB 1054 and stepping outside what some of the other public powers are doing and taking a stand on that. That was greatly appreciated. As I mentioned earlier, I had to leave the committee meeting before you presented the solar, but believe me, I've gotten plenty of emails and responses from that, and I just want to give you some feedback about that. Being one of the people that was asked to be in the stakeholders groups, I attended those meetings. And so one thing I would recommend is that since you convened the stakeholders, it would have been nice for the stakeholders to see it before you put that out so that we could have given some information. And some of the feedback so far has been, and from my point of view, it seems to be rather complicated. Unless you're a person, and even if you're a person who understands solar and understands clean energy, the way it's presented right now is quite confusing. So I would encourage you to take a look at that. Obviously, I believe you've said that you've looked at the programs in Kearney and in Central City and so on, LES, and I would encourage you to be more in line with particularly the ones in Kearney, where Kearney not only got buy-in from the community, but they got buy-in from the University of Nebraska, and that is a good thing. The other thing is and it's not clear about how the purchase power agreement, when you're talking about the cost of it, whether that's figured into the formula, and of course the Green Power Fund could also be used to buy down the cost of that. That would make it more amenable to trying to get people involved in that. We want to make this successful, and we hope you do too. And so I encourage you to listen to some of those experts out there that have taken a look at this already and are giving feedback. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
John Pollock, 1412 North 35th Street. Start with the weather. We're in our late winter, early spring transition in the next month. I don't think we're going to be seeing any more sub-zero temperatures this winter, although there's certainly going to be a lot of back and forth the next few weeks. Starting out with the storm track, the main storm track is well to our south and mainly affecting the Ohio Valley region. However, as we get toward the end of the month, we're starting to see some indications that it may be moving north into our area. And this time of the year, that can mean anything from snow to rain, ice, and even a little bit of severe weather, especially as we start getting further into March. The severe weather instance goes up, but that is not a specific forecast. That's a climatology, what we often get this time of year. As far as other items go, I would still like to see a monthly number of shutdowns in the report, as well as our renewable energy. I sincerely hope that there weren't any in inhabited buildings in the last month, but it's hard to know if it's not being broken down on a monthly basis. Regarding the solar, I started looking through the material online, and for some reason it reminded me of doing my income taxes, which I also haven't done as far as figuring out what's going on. I know I'll get through the math eventually and arrive at an understanding, but so far I can't make a good comment as to the substance, only as to the obscurity of trying to figure out what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Vern Drain, 49 Chicago. Bringing the information about $48 million pile of solar panels in Oregon, 11,000 homes, brought to you by the rural development that I brought to you last month. I also brought you the SPP solar things. You guys have a lot of, comments about our solar radiation. Well, it's the same as Oregon. And actually, Oregon has much worse solar radiation in most of their state than we do, as you might know about Oregon. Solar prices are falling quicker. This is just last week I got this. So you might want to recalculate some of those numbers and projections in the future about what solar you might think solar might cost, because there's new numbers. 50,000 homes, a virtual solar thing being put up. This has never, ever been mentioned by you or your management. The government hired a consulting firm, Frontier Economics, to examine the plan. The biggest savings for consumers is that they don't have to pay for as much network cost to deliver power to them because they're generating their own power. I heard a lot of negative comments about rooftop solar. That's why you're going with this community solar. Anyway, and then they said in principle, it's a quite simple technology. It just requires a smart computer system to stitch it all together. So that seems to be happening with 50,000 homes in Australia. Satellite observations, sea level. And that brings me over to the coal plants that you're running. You have 3 gas plants out there that are idle most of the time except for peak, which is summer. Why are we not running them for the air pollution potential lessening instead of running 2 coal plants? You have 3 gas plants sitting there. Now, we're going to convert all these to gas because it's so much cheaper. Why is it so much cheaper now to run those gas plants now? Because of air pollution, because of what you guys were saying at the last meeting about being the biggest air polluter. So I'd really like you to consider shutting down those 2 coal plants, running the 3 gas plants as your base load to demonstrate to me that it's cheaper, like you've been saying this whole time. And then the comments negative about Germany, sir. Well, here it is. Recent facts about the photovoltaic system in Germany. I hope you do read it. I have. This is published in January 3rd, 2018 by the government. You'll see the solar radiation there, and most of the country is worse than ours. Again, the green is worse, the yellow is us, the red is, of course, Arizona. So before you make comments offhand like you did negatively about Germany's solar program, please be informed. I know you haven't read this, so please, please, please read it. And this is a really good read anyway, because it's really well done. So the rest of the management people, please, read that. So anyway, there's my concerns. There's the information I'm giving you today. I hope you guys can catch up on this solar business. Oh, the SPP says there is no solar in queue and very little online. And you can change that because you're part of the SPP. And you have enough solar radiation, and you have rural areas, and you have a federal grant that could help you with that. And none of that information is brought up with the numbers and the bean counters and all of that stuff. I've never heard any of this information incorporated. Well, what if you did get $45 million from the federal government? How would that change things? So please, use my information and run with it. Have a good day. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The directors have any comments? The meeting will adjourn.
Thank you.